Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Star Wars Lads. We've got for you our predictions and speculation for The Bad Batch Season 3, Episodes 10 and 11. It's a double episode this coming week, and we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen in this finale to the second third of the season of The Bad Batch. We're approaching the final act, if you will, of Season 3 of The Bad Batch and the final act of The Bad Batch as a show in general. So we're going to talk about all of that. Make sure you're liking the video, helps us out tremendously. Subscribe to the channel for more. And of course, comment your predictions down below. We love to interact with you guys and hear your thoughts on what you think might happen in every week's episode of The Bad Batch. So when we have this week, the talk about with The Bad Batch, we have Season 3, Episode 10, Identity Crisis. We have Season 3, Episode 11, Point of No Return. Interesting titles there. Not necessarily titles that seem like they connect all too well, but we do imagine based on what happened with episodes 6 and 7, I assume these episodes are going to be a nice joint package. Otherwise, why release them together? Sanak, you hear those titles? We just had Ventress show back up. She left, though, but showed back up for an episode. A lot of intrigue around Omega. She did give that forewarning. Hey, you guys, not as safe on Pabu as you thought you would be. And we did see some stuff from the trailer. It looks like Pabu might be under attack. What do you think is going to happen here in episodes 10 and 11?
I think episode 10 is the one that's a little harder for me because I think the title for episode 11, Point of No Return, kind of implies the destruction, the occupation of Pabu. We still haven't seen Omega's friends and the families from season 2 from Pabu, which I found very interesting. So, and we've only really had Fee appear as a hologram, not even as a person on the island, right? So it is pretty interesting to me that Point of No Return makes a lot of sense as a title because maybe those characters are involved, maybe those characters are way into why this occupation happens, maybe they're captured, forced to give up information, stuff like that. It feels like there are some deliberate decisions there that really set up that title pretty well. But Identity Crisis, I don't know. It's a little harder because I guess the only real identity crisis that I can think about directly after this last episode with the Harbinger is maybe Omega's like struggling to be like, who am I? And like trying to do whatever she can, doing her own research. Maybe she's looking through the history of the Clone Wars and the history of the Kaminoan engineering and all that, whatever that the Bad Batch is able to been recover, right? And see if she can kind of clue together some understanding of herself or some direction on where to go to understand herself. That's the only really thing I can think about. But I feel like identity crisis is not something she would be in per se. Like she wants to know herself. I get that, but I don't know if she'd be in a state of crisis where she's unable to do anything but focus on that. I guess the possibility of a Jedi might you know, be something that is a little heavier on her because I don't think she really knows the full extent of Order 66. I don't think Hunter's really explained like how he was able to help Kanan kind of escape Caleb Doom at that point. All the other Jedi that have been gunned down, shot down, everything else, right? So maybe just exploring that and not fearing that if I do have the midichlorians, the M count, that allows me to eventually use the Force and be at further risk, right, for the Empire because then now I have like abilities that are appearing. Maybe that's what starts happening in that next episode. But I think it's still pretty unlikely that happens because I would think after all the crazy stuff in the sea with the monster and all that, for Omega to not have shown any capability of using the Force, I wouldn't really expect it to happen without Asajj or someone who has a strong understanding of the Jedi or is like a partner to the Jedi or has been a former Force user, right? I feel like only then would we see her be able to pull it out, and it would make sense to have someone almost like immediately fill in whatever details she needs. So I think the chance of an identity crisis over knowing the history of the Jedi is more likely than necessarily her powers activating if they want to go that route. But I guess you could maybe say Crosshair, right? We still have that question of like what he could have become. We know the CX2 eventually shows up on Pabu, so maybe as they're trying to understand more things about Omega and more things about Tantus, we have Crosshair finally reveal these things. He's fully entrenched with the family now. Everything is relatively great for him being part of the Bad Batch again, but he still has secrets. So maybe whatever he reveals about himself, raises questions that like break what Omega's worldview is for herself, for the clones, whatever history she's been able to pick up. Maybe the identity crisis is simply that Crosshair doesn't really know if he's like cured, if he's truly with the Bad Batch 100%, or maybe there's like a kill switch built into him that could make him turn into a CX clone or something. I think that would be pretty interesting, knowing that you don't necessarily have the full control, even with that brain chip removed now. Like that would be pretty fascinating to see, to lose your autonomy once more and to not have like a chance of like calming down like the way the clone troopers have after the effects of the brain chip in Order 66 settles in a year or two post the war. If he just fully flips into like assassin mode and all that and he can't turn it off, it's like genetically coded into him or something, that would be pretty shocking. But yeah, those are like the only two ways I think of going for identity crisis. I really think point of no return is that Pabu's invaded, possibly Omega gets kidnapped, or they're on the run somewhere, and that leads them into the next episode where they have to finally get the information to Tantus.
I agree, and I was gonna go the same place with Crosshair. I think that is possibly the identity crisis. We haven't touched on Crosshair as a character much lately. The episode after the last double, when Crosshair, the episode with Finnick, where Crosshair is working through his demons, trying to figure out how does he get himself to be himself again? What did the Empire really do to him? Did they do anything to him, or is he just psyching himself out? And this episode can go from a variety of different angles with Crosshair and an identity crisis. Like maybe this is the episode where he finally regains form and realize or remembers what it's like to be a member of the Bad Batch, remembers what he truly is, who he truly is, and why he does what he does. I think that is probably the my betting favorite for what's going to happen. The other thing was the mind control because of how big that was in the last double episode. I thought, I think that this episode could lead to that possible plot line. And in a way, I think that could connect to CX2. CX2 lived, fought directly with Crosshair, obviously, so there's some parallels there already. Hauser especially is afraid of Crosshair when he sees him because of the past he's had with Crosshair, but also the CX clones. Rex, they're very cautious about what Crosshair is and what conditioning the Empire tried to do on him. And so, since they're setting up a bit of the parallel between CX2 and Crosshair, maybe this is the episode we get a reveal for who CX2 is. Why is CX2 important? Why did CX2 have to live? Why does he get a name? What's important about this character? And frankly, if it was a big important character that we've seen before, like we've theorized in the past, for anywhere from Cody to Tech to anybody like that, this would be the episode to reveal it and let that sit, that weight sit with the Bad Batch and sit with the audience for the last third of this show. So I think those could be places to go with Identity Crisis. It could end up just being the vagueness of Omega being like, okay, this woman just came, she's telling me I have the power to move things with my mind or talk to animals and do all this stuff. I don't know what a Jedi is. Like, I don't really see any, I don't know anything about this. Who am I? Why am I so important? Why does everybody want to kidnap me? Everybody is after me. What do I do? Do I need to figure this out on my own? Are you going to help me, Bad Batch? Like, I think this could just be, it could be a setup episode in the sense that she's just kind of fed up with not knowing anything about herself and trying to figure out and truly cement what is Omega and what are her powers. Does she have any? What is her importance? And I do expect by the end of this double episode, whether it's in 10 or 11, to really truly understand why Omega is so important. Whether she gets kidnapped, that is also up for debate, and I think would be obviously a major catalyst for the Bad Batch returning and attacking Tantus later in the season. I think that's a good betting favorite for something to happen to her. But the destruction of Pabu, I think, is enough also to spur them, right? If we have the destruction of their home planet, they feel like they've been safe here. Ventress already set it up. You guys think your fortress is impenetrable, but when the Empire wants something, they're going to come get it. And you guys are going to be in trouble. And we're going to see that happen. We're going to see Pabu fall. And that could also spur the Bad Batch to be like, look, we've run away from the Empire for years already. We can't avoid this conflict. This is our fight. It doesn't matter if we're not regs. It doesn't matter if we're loners. It doesn't matter if we don't want anything to do with the Republic or the Empire anymore. This is our fight, and they're never going to stop until we beat them. And so I think that could be the resolution of this episode as well. And maybe that also ties in with like a tag where they have a bit of a rallying moment with Rex and some of the other clones that we've seen in the past, maybe a resurgence of Cody, a reappearance of Cody, or maybe Wolf's defected or something where we get a bit more of like a hoorah, we're ready to go into the final third of the season and really go after the Empire. But those would be my thoughts on what might happen in season 3, episodes 10 and 11. What are you guys thinking might happen in these 2 episodes next week? Make sure you let us know in the comments. Really part of the fun of these videos to be able to interact with you guys, hear your theories and your thoughts. And if you want to discuss Bad Batch and theorize about the future, join us every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. We go live and we discuss all the latest in the Bad Batch, as well as talk about what could happen in the future of the show. Check out our review we just did live last week, where we talked about Asajj Ventress and a lot of the future of what that could mean for Star Wars. It was a great conversation with a lot of you, and we really enjoyed it. So check that video out, as well as all the other great stuff coming out on the channel here throughout the week. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we will see you all next time.